Well, welcome to Cedar Creek Church Online. It's been a beautiful Saturday so far. Hopefully you've been able to enjoy that a little bit. My name's Nate. I'm one of the pastors here. And from one dad to another, I want to wish you a happy Father's Day weekend. And before we kick into the rest of the service, I've got one announcement for you. Starting in July, we're going to be shifting our online service times. So starting in July, we're going to be streaming on Saturdays at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. And Sunday mornings, we'll be streaming at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 1 p.m. So you may be asking, why are we making this shift? Well, as a church and all of you, we've completely transitioned to church online, and we want to continue to create great options for you and the people that you invite to church. The second reason we're going to make this shift is because many of you have given us the feedback over the years through surveys or through conversations in the lobbies that our service times aren't the easiest to remember and to pass on. And so by going to the odd hour, we're hoping that that'll be a little bit easier for you to take into conversation and invite people to engage in church with you. And the last reason we're making this shift is because as we look forward to August and tentatively opening our physical locations in that month, we know that we're going to need a little extra time between services on Sunday morning to be able to clean and to create a safe environment for all of you to step back into. And so we're looking forward to that. Again, starting in July, we're shifting our service times. So we look forward to seeing you there. But this is Father's Day weekend. And for all fathers, there's that stereotypical dad that they just kind of do those weird things that make us chuckle just like this.
Hello?
So I guess they just let anybody in here now. How you doing, big guy?
Did someone just say politics?
Dad, I'm hungry. Well, I'm hungry. I'm Dad.
Oh, I've been up since 5. I'm on my 3rd cup already. Anyone else catch that nice sunrise this morning? No? Can you go get Timmy up? It's 8 a.m. already. Did you hear about this? They talked about it a few hours ago. Your mom and I already showered and we took the dogs for a walk. Oh, it was beautiful. I've already logged 5,000 steps. Timmy, get up. You're wasting the day. Oh, look, it lives.
Oh man, that grunt when you sit down, that's definitely something I do once in a while. So dads, hope that made you chuckle. Everyone else, we know that it's true, but it's fun. It's one of the reasons we love dads, because of all those weird things that we do. But right now, wherever you're watching from, we're going to sing a couple songs, and I just want you to know, before we sing these, no matter what you're carrying, no matter what you're going through in the season, the God of heaven and earth loves you right where you're at in this moment. And it's because he loves us first that we respond and sing. So I want to encourage you as we as a team, we play and sing these songs for you tonight. I want to invite you to sing with us, but I would say even more importantly, I just want you to think about these words that we're going to proclaim together. Let's have some fun. King of heaven, Son of God, enthroned above, heavy cross upon his shoulders, carry for us, see him now, our King surrender, final word of perfect love. Father, forgive them, spoken for us, when he said it is finished. Oh, and just begun. The grave has lost its hold. Arise, the stone is gone. Our God reigns forevermore. All praise to him belongs.
favorite things about singing is that we get to say out loud powerful reminders to ourselves. Like this next song reminds me that God is faithful, He is good. And those are not just words, there is so much power in them. God is with us in the midst of everything. So let's sing this out.
So many reasons, too many to count, to say that I love you, to worship you now. Your love is perfect, and your heart is kind. I'm yours forever, forever you're mine. Jesus, the anthem of my heart, Jesus, the anchor of my soul. I'm overwhelmed by all you are. Oh, how I love you. You call me beloved, you call me friend. Your grace is unworthy, you welcome me in. Now all that I long for and all that I need is to be in your presence. Forever I fall at your feet. Jesus, the anthem of my heart, Jesus, the anchor of my soul. I'm overwhelmed by all you are. Oh, how I love you. Jesus, the anthem of my heart, Jesus, the anchor of my soul. I'm overwhelmed by all you are. Oh, how I love you. Faithful to the end, God, you are always good. Where do I begin? There's so many reasons to love you. Your promise never breaks, your beauty never fades. What else can I say? There's so many reasons to love you. You're faithful to the end. God, you are always good. Where do I begin? There's so many reasons to love you. Your promise never breaks, your beauty never fades. What else can I say? There's so many for that incredible love that you have for us. I pray tonight, God, wherever we're watching from, whatever we're in the midst of right now, God, I pray that that truth would sink in deeply into the core of who we are. God, you are so good, and we give you all the praise tonight. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks so much for singing with us.
Well, we care so deeply about families, and we know that parents, you have been working like crazy during this season to be everything your kids need to fill in so many gaps they may have been missing. And we really miss seeing your family on the weekend. And until we can come back together, our team has worked super hard to bring you content your kids, really your whole family, can engage with at home. And it's all available on our Cedar Creek app and our ministry websites. Both of those sites offer our weekly online experience with series content for the whole month and some highlighted parented resources. These are intended to be super practical to help you lead your child spiritually. For example, our weekly online experience has a video package that you can watch together, and then a fun parent guide with some activities and discussion questions to help your child apply what they've learned. We also have kids groups that meet every single weekend to help your child stay connected with their group leader during this challenging season. We share an overview of the stories that your child is learning, the series that we're in, to help you to see how the Bible stories and the bottom lines all connect with each other. In addition, we have parent cues to dig deeper into those topics, cueing you to connect with your child at specific times during the day. And then finally, we have parent resources intended to equip you with things like blogs, podcasts, prayer prompts, worship playlists, and more. All of that is available on demand so that your family can engage whenever works best for you. And for June, we have 2 experiences that we don't want you to miss. We have a special Kids Online Summer Experience, which is a 5-day event with engaging videos and parent guides, all created around the topic of focusing on God to help your child grow in their faith. This experience will be available June 15th through the 30th. And then following that, we have our next Start Here event on June 28th at 9 a.m. This online conversation is centered around helping your elementary child take those first steps toward a personal relationship with Jesus. For more information and to register, go to cedarcreek.tv/starthere. We may not be able to see you all in person right now, but we do hope that these digital tools will help you to create memories and equip you to lead your child spiritually. You are doing a great job, parents, and we love partnering with you.
Well, I want to welcome you to Cedar Creek this weekend. It's Father's Day weekend, and I thought we would go fireside. So from one dad to another, I just want to say Happy Father's Day. And I know for me, I enjoy time with my kids, cooking s'mores or fireside with them. And we're actually in a series called The Summer Side of Life. Our hope is that you take us wherever it is that you travel this summer. But our purpose during this series is really to equip you to have some meaningful moments, regardless of whether you're able to do all or maybe very little of what you had hoped or planned to do this summer. Why is that important? Well, we said at the beginning of the series that life is better when you can relive meaningful moments, which means you need to see them, you need to mark them, and you need to share them, retell the story with others. And so this weekend, I want to talk about how to create or mark an adventurous moment. Dads are stereotypically adventurous. Maybe you were thinking crazy or over the top or ridiculous, but that's a stereotype. But still, there's this sense that guys in general are a little crazy at times. And this weekend, you're going to hear from a Cedar Creeker. He's attended our church for years, and he's a dad, and he went on a crazy adventure. He's actually a reality TV star. This season, season 11 of the show Naked and Afraid, he was featured just this past year. So you're going to hear from a reality TV star who was on Naked and Afraid. I'm just going to let that settle in for a minute. For those of you that have watched the show, you're probably excited. Like, I probably watched that episode. It aired earlier this year, so you're going to have a lot of fun hearing from him. And I imagine there are others of you that are like, what has church come to? Interviewing a guy on a show that has kind of an interesting non-churchy title. Well, if you've never seen the show, it's really about surviving with nothing. And for those who love that kind of adventure, it's a captivating show. In fact, I want you to put in the chat if you've watched the show or have enjoyed that show. For those of you that are concerned, which I understand based on the title, you may think, is this even appropriate? The truth is, if you watch The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, shoot, even Survivor, there's probably more risque behavior on that show. I'm not recommending it for everyone, but it's really, at the heart of it, is meant to put people in a difficult and adventurous situation. And if you're wondering, what does that have to do with God and our spiritual life? I'll get to that in just a minute. But first, let's start with what is adventure and why is it so important in life? If you were to define adventure, an adventure is usually a bold undertaking, usually involving danger and risk, and typically leads to new or exciting experiences. When you think about going on an adventure, you're not always guaranteed of an outcome that is successful. You're not guaranteed that it's going to be safe. It means that there are going to be challenges along the way, but what it does, where it takes you, is it's exciting. So why adventure? Well, author Helen Keller says, life is either a daring adventure or it's nothing. I mean, if you think about what it means to grow up and some of the stages of life, each new stage, there's a bit of adventure to it if you choose to step into it. If not, you actually miss some of the things that make life meaningful. I mean, think about getting married. That's a bold and sometimes dangerous quest that you go on, or maybe starting a new job. There's an element of adventure in that. Having kids, sending your kids out into the world. When you start to look at all of these things and you see them as an adventurous opportunity, it changes our expectations of the way things will go. Because sometimes what is really feels a little bit like an inconvenience or a threat or maybe an underlying anxiety that we're carrying is really an invitation to just step into the bold and risky and potentially dangerous adventure that's in front of us. And when we allow ourselves to do that, it leads to an experience that's quite meaningful. So if we are going to have an adventurous moment and experience those new experiences, there are a few things that we're going to need to surrender. First thing that we're going to need to surrender is convenience. Being bold and courageous is rarely convenient. And we live in a culture that loves convenience. We love things being delivered to our door from Amazon. The less driving, the less out of our house. We love being in our convenient, comfy clothes around the house, which makes it challenging for us to be willing to step into something that's going to require courage, that may not be convenient. That's what adventure does. And so we're going to have to surrender convenience or our dependency upon convenience if we're going to experience adventure. The second thing that we're going to need to surrender is our comfort. If it's going to involve some sort of danger or risk, that means it's probably not going to be comfortable at times. It's probably not going to be easy. It might be downright painful. You might get hurt. And so I think sometimes our fear of pain or our love of comfort keeps us from seeing an adventurous moment or stepping into it that leads to those meaningful experiences in life. The third thing that we're going to have to surrender is control. Because adventure, you don't always know the outcome. We like to control the outcome. But with most adventures, it's about the experience more than the outcome. Control wants to lead towards the outcomes I want or I feel like I need. But when you step into an adventure, you're kind of surrendering your need or even your ability to control those things. You know what's interesting about all of that? Do you know what it sounds like? It sounds like faith. Faith is about surrendering our control. Faith also invites us to surrender our comfort and our need for convenience to experience something deeper with God. I mean, if you think about our mission at Cedar Creek is to introduce people to Jesus and the life-changing adventure with Him. And tragically, when it comes to God or church or Christianity, most people feel like it's boring and predictable and mundane and safe and sanitized and uneventful and not meaningful. In fact, I would say in particular, there are a lot of men who have given up on the idea of organized religion because it's so not who they are. And yet when you open up the Bible, what you see time and time again is God inviting people into these risky, dangerous adventures. Noah, build an ark. David, take on a giant. Moses, confront the most powerful man in the world and tell him to free his entire workforce, and you're only going to take a stick into that environment. You know, it's like, these are crazy. I mean, look at Jesus inviting the disciples to feed 5,000 people or walk on water. Jesus himself enduring death on a cross and then coming back from the dead 3 days later. I mean, that's crazy. That's adventurous. And so what's happened? And my hope is to help each of us recapture that sense of adventure that I think God has for all of us. And to help us do that, I want you to experience the story of Nate Cook. I want you to just listen to the journey that he went on to go from a show viewer to a show participant, to being dropped into the middle of the Peruvian Amazon with nothing. And I want you to just kind of experience and listen to the journey and the things that he learned and what happened and what was easy and what was hard. And I think out of that, we'll be able to glean some truths that'll help us step into maybe some personal adventures that you need to go on this summer. And maybe it'll help all of us understand a little bit more what that spiritual adventure that Jesus has for us might look like.
You started watching the show from the very beginning. You decided to put your name in the hat.
Yeah, there was just one night I was like, you know, because you look at this and you're thinking, I could do that. I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. Let me assure you, it's way different when you get in.
Take us to the moment where you get out of the boat and you start shedding clothes.
It makes the challenge really, really hard because you're battling mosquitoes, exposure to, there were nights that we hit mid 40s and most nights were in the low 50s. And it was like pummeled by rain. But that, you know, there's been many times I've gone on 3, 4, 5 day hikes out there, but you got clothes on, you know, you have boots on and you have, you know, you can shield yourself.
I remember watching the clip where you were walking through the marsh and it's like you can't see where you're stepping and you got no clothing on and you have no idea what's in the water.
Well, I knew what was in the water. There's like 50 different types of piranha. Second, there's caiman, and there's like the largest anaconda, the green anaconda in the world.
Plus all the microbacteria and stuff and leeches and...
More times than not, it's the small things that take these people out. You know, it's the, like you said, the bacterias, the infections, and the mosquitoes. It's not just you get used to getting eaten alive. I mean, you really do. just to start going numb. It's the maddening buzzing in your ears nonstop. Really? That really gets to you. I mean, I was putting leaves in my ears at night just so I didn't care if they were eating you. It was the buzzing that was just maddening.
So give me another challenge that you wouldn't realize, you didn't realize in watching the show, that you discovered when you were there.
It'd be 6 o'clock and it would start getting dark. 6:30, it was pitch black, and you would not see. In those little night vision cameras, you could see maybe 4 feet ahead, in front of you, and that was it. That's all you could see. So even like having to go to use the restroom, was challenging, because if you had to do that at night, you had no idea where you were stepping. And there's many different poisonous snakes. There's puma, jaguar, there's everything else out there. And it's best to stay close to your fire. So
when you think back to your time, what's a favorite memory that you have where you're like, I'm going to cherish that one forever?
Getting the fire started finally it was the hardest fire I've ever had to start in my life. You take the little wins, it's a series of, it's just like life, you have downs, you have ups, and I think they're more magnified in that environment just because there's so little wins.
You caught a grasshopper and you were like, yay!
It was delicious. It tasted like barbecue.
So tell me, yes, it's an adventure, but how has this experience impacted your life now that you're back? What perspective did it bring?
It makes you really reflect on how blessed I truly am in the family that I have, in the job that I have, that I enjoy doing. I enjoy the job that I have. My friends, you really appreciate, I think, the relationships. But everybody says the same thing. You do come back changed in a way that your perceptions of how really bad something is completely blown out of the water. We both probably had each 350 calories when we were there in 13 days. And I had lost 28 pounds in 13 days. And sleep-wise, I probably had around 3 hours of sleep in those 13 days, and she had less. She had probably closer to two and a half, maybe, in the whole time. So, yeah, once you get to that point, your cognitive skills, your, decision-making and everything just plummets. And just going down to the water, which was about a 20-minute hike downhill, was rough. By the time I get down there and come back, I was like, I got to rest for like an hour because you're just exhausted. But I don't regret. I've talked to my partner too. I don't regret leaving. It was the right choice. And my wife said, thank you for that. She goes, you made the right choice. And, and I looked at it as, I think I've proven everything I need to out here as far as, can I go one more day? I think I could. Do I need to? I don't know. But there is a disappointment, right? There's no regret for leaving, but there is a disappointment for not making that finish line. It still eats at you a little bit, but it's not a regret.
That's a profound thought, that you can not regret but still carry a little bit of disappointment, and I think that's a powerful principle for life in general. When you were out there, how did your faith come alive? You prayed a lot. Where did you see God at work?
You'd start to get down, or you'd start to go, think, I don't know, I can't really do this. I don't know if I can do this anymore. That's when I looked to God for guidance. That's when I said, you know why I'm here. I know why I'm here, but I'm starting to question. I'm starting to question what I'm doing here. What is my purpose anymore in this? When you look to God, you can refocus. And that's what I did a lot. Not just your regular prayer before you go to bed, or the regular prayer when that big storm is coming, but it's to that guidance to whether you even are starting to question what you're doing.
Well, Nate, thanks for sharing your story with us, man. I so appreciate his courage and willingness to be dropped in the middle of nowhere, an environment he'd never been in before, And there's a part of me that is intimidated by it. I mean, I don't know that I could do that. And I consider myself a pretty adventurous person, which then makes me a little jealous, because that means I'm not going to experience being dropped in the middle of a, rainforest in Peru and all of the unique things that come with that. Did you notice the journey that he went on? I was thinking about this. He started with viewing the show. He watched the very first episode. And then as he viewed the show, he began to practice what he was seeing. He began to learn about it in his backyard, trying different things on different trips that he went on. And then he became a participant. It was his turn. In fact, he was sharing with me in our time together that he has another trip planned with some friends where they're going to go out with very little and go camping together somewhere in the United States. Like, this is an ongoing adventure that he's going to participate in. If we're going to have an adventurous moment, some of you might just need to open your eyes to view new opportunities. And that could be anything. That's not just camping. That's not just being on a reality TV show. It could be signing up for a marathon. It could be spending some significant time with kids or grandkids. It could be tackling a car project or a house project. Step into something that's a little risky and do it with people that matter to you. It could be a simple trip. It could be a long project. But what are some ways that maybe you could begin to view and practice and then participate in something that would make this summer more meaningful for you and for your loved ones? Let's not miss that opportunity. Did you know what's interesting? On a spiritual level, this is exactly what Jesus invited his followers to do. I mean, you can open up the book of Mark or the book of John, the accounts of Jesus' life, and the very first thing that Jesus said to some of these disciples when they were asking questions is Jesus said, "Come and see, come and view." Maybe that's what you need to do spiritually. Maybe you tuned into this for the very first time because you heard that we were going to interview a guy who was on Naked and Afraid, or maybe somebody invited you and you've never really considered God or thought about God or any sort of spiritual journey in your life. What if you just kept coming back? What if you just opened your eyes to the spiritual adventure that maybe God has for you? I would encourage you to keep attending, keep tuning in. Maybe that's the spiritually adventurous step that you need to take today. Now, some of you've been viewing a long time, maybe months, maybe years. It's like you've been attending Cedar Creek, you've been watching all of this happen, but maybe it's time for you to take that next step to start learning and practicing, start engaging a little bit more in what it is that we're inviting, that God is inviting you into. I mean, imagine the disciples. If all they did was come and see and just watch Jesus do what he did, they would have missed out on meaningful moments. It was when they began to follow him, or they became a disciple, or they began to practice and learn what he was teaching, that they fed the 5,000, that they participated in miracles, that at times they were embarrassed when they didn't understand or didn't believe everything that Jesus was teaching them to believe, when they were freaking out in the middle of the boat, in the middle of the storm. It's like Jesus is like, where is your faith? Let's practice what I'm teaching you. It was when they began to practice and learn that the meaning and significance of Jesus began to increase. Maybe that's the step that you need to take. Instead of just watching everything happen from the comfort of your home or from a distance, what would it look like to step into a group, to step into discovering your purpose, to take a step deeper in reading the Living It Out on a regular basis, or knowing God, praying out loud, praying with others? What would it look like for you to begin to practice what it is that we talk about week in and week out, and not just make this an hour or so event that you tune into on the weekend, but begin to make it a regular part of your life? It's going to feel dangerous and risky, and yes, it may mean you need to change a few things in your life or adjust some of the patterns or things that you've done, but man, I'm telling you, it will increase the spiritual significance and meaning of your life when you begin to take those steps that we invite all of you to do. Some of you have been practicing, but Now it's time to go a little bit deeper. Jesus ultimately looked at his disciples after he said, come and see, and then he said, come and follow. And then one of his last statements after his resurrection, the moment, the pinnacle moment of his life, Jesus left. And he basically said, it's your turn. He turned everything over to the disciples and said, hey, it's your turn to go into all the world and make disciples. It's your turn to take what you've practiced and what you've learned and go and help someone else. Like, this is the ultimate mission that God has for you and for me. Not to be a spiritual consumer of reading and learning and watching more and more pastors and stuff online, whatever it is that you do, but it's to take that and to go and make a difference in someone else's life. To invite someone else to experience what you've experienced, who doesn't go to church or doesn't understand God, isn't where you're at. It's to use your gifts to help someone else take a step on that journey. We say it's to join the dream team. It's to use your gifts to grow God's family. You're never going to be spiritually satisfied if you don't start stepping into those opportunities to help someone else grow, when you realize that it's your turn to actually participate in the great spiritual adventure that God has for us. So each of you are at different places in your journey. Some of you just need to keep seeing and keep coming, keep attending. Others of you need to begin to practice what you're seeing. You need to begin learning more and more through tangible things like reading and growing and praying and growth track and groups. And others of you, it's time for you to join the dream team. Now let me warn you, it's not going to be convenient. It's not always going to feel comfortable. And you're not going to be able to control the outcome. But when you do, when you step into those adventurous moments, both personally and especially spiritually, that's when you begin to experience God in such personal and powerful ways. It changes the way that you see everything around you. And so I hope you take a step with God intentionally this summer. I hope you take steps into adventure, bold, sometimes dangerous and risky undertakings that lead to meaningful new experiences for you with God, for you with others, for you to share. And so will you make that your prayer with me right now? Take a deep breath wherever you're at. And if you need to surrender control, your comfort, your convenience, would you just open your hands on those things and give those back to God? God, I pray that you would give us eyes to see the adventurous invitations you give us every day to experience life with you and to enjoy the life you've given us here. God, would you give us the courage to open our hands and surrender what's convenient, what's comfortable, to surrender our control so that we are prepared to receive, even when it's dangerous and risky, even when it feels bold, even when we're unsure of the outcome, to receive the adventure that you have for us. God, would you help those that are just starting their journey to continue to see and learn the work that you're doing in their life? Would you give the courage to those who've been watching for a long time to take a step deeper, to practice and learn even more what it means to know you and to find freedom and to discover their purpose? And God, would you give us all the courage to make a difference? Whether that's as simple as inviting someone to experience a service or to using our gifts to help someone else take a step on their journey. God, you are always inviting your followers into the bold and risky journey of faith. Let us not settle for stale and predictable Christianity, but instead let us follow you with courage. And we're going to trust that you're going to use us and grow us in ways that we could never imagine. Thanks for this eternal adventure that you're inviting us into, and that we get to do it together with you and with each other. We can't wait to see how you make a difference through us in the months and years ahead. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you have a fantastic Father's Day tomorrow. And one more time before you leave, an announcement for you. Starting in July, we're going to shift our service times. So we're going to continue to meet online at 5 and 7 on Saturday, and Sunday morning, 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 1 p.m. And the reason that we're doing this is to continue to create great opportunities for you and anyone that you want to invite to church to join us. In fact, if you don't know, we rebroadcast the entire service Sunday afternoon through Friday evening on every odd hour. So if you ever miss a weekend, there's a great opportunity for you to catch up on the Cedar Creek app or on the Cedar Creek website. The second reason we're making this change is because many of you have given us the feedback that our service times aren't that easy to remember and pass on. So by going to those odd hours, we're hoping that that'll be easier for you to latch onto those and pass it on in conversation with your friends and family. And lastly, as we look forward to August and tentatively reopening our physical locations, we know that we're going to need a little extra time to clean in between services and to create a safe environment for all of you to step back into. So join us in July. I hope you have a great day tomorrow. Have a good night.